Basically, for the next 10, 15 minutes, I'm just going to give you the most basic of overviews of three collection societies called PPL, MCPS, and PRS. PRS and MCPS are actually one organisation, but they do slightly different things. Before we get started, is anyone already a member of PRS? Okay, cool. Anyone a member of PPL? Anyone an MCPS member? Okay, has anyone never heard of these organizations before? Okay, cool. Right, well, if you do have any questions, there'll be some time at the end, and I'm more than happy to take them. And as I say, we're all here all day long, so so feel free to ask questions then. I'm going to turn my phone off. Okay, so PRS for music is an organization that collects royalties on behalf of songwriters. And that's the really key important thing there, is that it's all about the people that write the song. Legally standing, the song comprises of the top line melody and the lyrics. Everything else is considered to be an arrangement. So that's something that when, as a band, if you're writing songs, you need to have a discussion about and figure out who actually owns the song itself. And it's those people that should be joining PRS. And the way that it works is that they collect money when music is performed in public. So when a song's performed in public, that might be on the radio, it might be at a live gig. A royalty is then generated and it's paid to PRS through a license fee. So for example, this room, this venue will pay a license fee to PRS, and then every time Kasabian play one of their songs in the main hall next door, there's a royalty generated. So for live gigs, the way that that works is that the promoter pays 3% of their net box office takings. That goes to PRS, and then it's split between the compositions that are played on the night. So the headline band will probably get a bit more money because they play for longer, but everyone is earning the same amount of money per track or for the amount of time. For smaller venues, there's a scheme known as the Pubs and Clubs scheme, and they pay an annual license to PRS, so they don't pay 3% of their box office, they just pay an annual fee, and then that's split out between all the small gigs. So that might be something in like a 100 capacity venue, or a pub, or a little club, or an open mic, or that kind of thing. And it usually averages out at around £6 a gig. So if you're doing 100 gigs a year, you could be earning some decent money, even if you're just doing open mic nights or little like spots and that kind of thing. For radio, the BBC basically submit a playlist of everything that they play. That goes to PRS, and then the money is distributed to the people who wrote the tracks that were performed. For other stations, they do what's called sampling. So instead of the stations submitting their entire lists, they basically have someone who will listen to the music. It might be once a month, it might be twice a year, it might be every second day. It just depends on the scale and the level of the network. So it might be a day that you get, if your song is played on the day that they sample, you'll get paid a decent amount of money. If you get played on a day that they don't sample, you won't make anything. So that's how that works. To give you an idea of the kind of money that you could be earning as a PRS member, if you played a gig in Buskers around the corner, they're probably, I've not checked this out for sure, but I'm pretty sure that they will be classed as a small venue. So you'd probably get around £6 a gig. Same with maybe Beat Generator. If you played at the ABC in Glasgow or the O2 Academy or Fat Sam's, you're probably looking at upwards of £100 a gig. And then if you get a slot at a big festival like T in the Park, Reading and Leeds, Glastonbury, and that might be on like one of the smallest stages, the Tea Break stage, the BBC Introducing stage, you're looking at probably upwards of £1,000. So I've been in a position where I've managed a really small band who don't really have much profile. They're getting paid £100 to go and play at the Tea Break stage at T in the Park, but because they were PRS members, they earned around £1,000 on top of that fee. For airplay, one play on Radio 1 is probably going to earn the songwriter about £50. Radio 2, you're looking at more like 75. Six Music's a bit smaller because their listenership's smaller. You're looking at £13 to £15. And then something on BBC Radio Scotland, you're looking at around a tenner. So you can see that if you end up on a playlist on even Six Music, or even better, Radio 1 or Radio 2, you could be earning some really decent money if you're a PRS member. Does that make sense? Anyone got any questions about PRS? Not a single one.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, so probably not in that case. So around the £6 a gig, you're going to be that's going to be split between the number of songs in your 30-minute set. So if someone else wrote those songs, then it's likely that like a lot of that money will go to the people that wrote the other ones. Okay, so PPL is a different organisation, and it's probably going to be a little more complicated to get your head around. So I'll try my very best to keep it simple. PPL collect on behalf of what's called a rights holder, and they also collect on behalf of performers. So this is important to everyone in the room that plays music, whether you're the bass player, the drummer, the triangle player, the backing singer, if you're doing hand claps. If you're performing on recordings, you're going to be earning royalties. And if you're a record label or if you're releasing your own music, there's a different royalty that's generated. So it's important to keep the distinction between the two things quite separate. There's the record label or the person that owns the rights to the recording, and then there's the performers, the people that actually played on the recording. So in a similar way to PRS, the PPL collect money from the public performance, but it's from the public performance of the actual recording, not from the public performance of the song. Does that make sense? So PRS collects for the songwriters, PPL collects on behalf of the people that own the actual recording. So again, that's when a recording is used on the radio, in a shop, in a club, that kind of thing. So it's nothing to do with gigs, but it's all about when the recording's played. So a club's quite a good example there. So the people that use music, i.e. the radio stations, the shops, and the clubs, they also pay a license fee to PPL. When the music's used, a royalty is generated. Now this royalty is then split 50-50 between the record label or the rights holder and all the performers. So if you're releasing your own music, you need to register with PPL as a record label, essentially. Now, you might want to call that whatever label name you want, but basically because you own the rights to your own recordings, that royalty is generated and you'll get paid for that. And then the other 50% will be split between the people that performed on the track. So the singer, the guitarist, the drummer, the bass player, the triangle player, the backing vocals, someone slamming a door really loudly in the background, everyone's earning some PPL. Where you can go to join these organisations, their websites are here. I urge you to take them down and go and check it out further. PRS costs £50 per songwriter to join, and that's like a one-off fee. You don't pay anything on top of that. They pay out 4 times a year. With PPL, it's free to join, and just remember that you need to, if you own your own recordings, which I think everyone in the room will be in this position, you need to set up a rights holder account first, and then go in and set up your own performer account. And then when you register the tracks on your rights holder, your label account, you then assign the performers on there, and that makes sure that you get paid on both sides. All right. Does anyone have any questions about PPL? I know it's a lot of information and it's pretty complex, so I'm around for the rest of the afternoon and totally happy to sit down with anyone that's like, what are you talking about? I don't understand a word you're saying. But it's absolutely like vital that if you're not members of these organizations that you get joined up. As a manager of emerging bands, it is the lifeline for us. This is, PRS income has put bands out on tour. It's made us able to afford to do a whole lot of stuff that just wouldn't have been possible from gig fees alone. So it's really important. Yannicka, who's currently snapping some photographs, is going to come and talk to you now about music photography. Do you want to fire up?